Hey, so thank you for joining us this morning. I'm joined by my colleague Jack as well, and we're going to be talking about some productivity apps within Microsoft. Please don't worry. I know probably we're going to cover a lot of stuff today, and it may be quite quick, and you may want to dig a bit deeper into it. But what we're going to do, we'll make this available on YouTube after as well. So anyone who can't join us today, or if you think, oh, you know what, one of those apps is really useful, looking back on it, you will be able to watch that, and even you can book in a meeting with us. I know my colleague Jenny is going to be putting a link into the chat, and you can book directly in with myself or Jack. We can. I see a lot of faces that I know. Some organisations that sort of we don't work with. So if it goes for anyone, you're welcome to book in with us. We can sort of discuss what we've spoken about today, or what we also do is IT support. So I'm just going to change to the next slide so you can see. I'm just going to start off by saying a little bit about Qlic IT, and then we can sort of get directly into it. So Qlic IT, we are a managed service provider. So we provide IT support, focusing on the third sector for, I think, coming up on about 16 years now, working with 300 charities all across the UK, varying from 1 user to 300. So the way we're slightly different is, I know a lot of the time you may see that you think you're too small for IT support, and really the truth is you're never too small. It's always better to start while you're smaller and then expand with it. So that's what we found, and we work with, like I say, hundreds of charities, and we found that the sooner they start and the sooner they come on board and make the right changes, get the right setup in place, the better it is for them, and saves them money down the line. We also do, so we offer free IT consultations, which my colleague Jenny is going to put in the chat. It's going to be a link, like I mentioned, that you can book in with me and Jack, and we can talk about any IT needs you have, anything around today, or if you've got any website issues, you've got any upcoming projects that you want some advice on, or you need some help with, we can do all of that. Okay, I can see Jenny's put the link in the chat. I know we're going to cover a bit more about that later. So Jack's going to mention sort of what bookings is and sort of how you can really use that to empower your charity or not for profit. But I'll let Jack introduce himself as well.
Good morning. I'm Jack. I'll be covering a few things on the webinar today. Bookings, as we just spoke about, that Jenny's put in. I'll show you a bit about that, and also be covering a bit on SharePoint and forms. We will have a Q&A at the end. We have obviously got the Q&A tab at the top. You can ask any questions and we'll go through them at the end. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Perfect. Okay, what I'm going to do, because you can all see my screen, I'm just going to come off of this. Just to let you all know, I'm going to cover a couple of apps. I'm going to show some of them through the web portal, because I know that basically everything we're showing you today is part of the business premium package. So you should already have it on your tenant. If you're a registered charity, you should get 10 for free. If you're not, or you're not getting the discounted versions, if you're over 10, please let us know and we'll see if we can sort of help you out with setting that up. But I'm going to show you the web version, because some of the apps are web-based and work a bit better on the web. But obviously, we also appreciate sometimes people work on personal machines, and it's always safer to do that through the web where you can. So for some examples, I'll be on the web. Some of them are going to be apps, and I'll sort of mention the two and sort of what we find works a bit better then. So for anyone that doesn't know, you can get to the web version of Microsoft by simply going to portal.office.com. And then once you load that, you'll be brought to your dashboard. You can sort of see some recent files people have worked on. This is for your whole organization, or you can go down to apps and you'll see there is a lot of apps on here. Probably a lot of them you've never used, never will use, but I would always recommend you should look through each of them. They've got a little sort of description there, and they can sort of say what they are. We're going to focus on a few of them today. If it does come out and you'd like us to do a webinar on any of the others, please get in touch, let us know, and we can definitely do that for you. So to start with, I'm going to quickly mention OneNote, which is this one here. I prefer the desktop version of it. I'm just going to start off by showing you this, because I can see some people are going to be taking a note with pen and paper when you could be doing it through OneNote. So very easy to use. I'll also sort of tell you how we use it, and then sort of examples of how charities use all of these and sort of help with productivity. So, for example, I've got 2 screens. I always have OneNote open on one of them, and it just sits there because obviously we take a lot of calls. I've got a lot of people coming in and asking me things, and I will forget it all if I don't make notes. So I can simply make a section on here, so it's almost like a book. I could call this calls, for example. Let me drag that over so you can see it a bit more. And then you can add pages on here. So every page, let's say I've just received a call from Jack, so I can make a note that Jack called me, and that's going to be the title. You can then sort of make notes in here. Anything that you want to track, say, let's say it's a call, you need to remember to do something later, you can make a note in here. It's exactly like you would imagine a notepad's going to be, but just an app version of it, so you don't just need to use pen and paper, and it's easily accessible because you're always going to be in front of your computer while you're working. You can also add tables. So if you do insert, you can add tables. It's quite nice. You can drag and drop. Obviously, I'm going to quickly cover over this because I'm sure everyone knows how to use a notepad, but you can also share it. So let's say I work quite closely with one of my colleagues, and we sort of work alternating hours. We can have a note open. We can say, okay, I took a call from this person this morning. Let's say they then cover me for the second half of the day. They can come in and see, okay, well, this person has called in, they've asked for this, and it really helps you. Let's say someone calls in later in the day and says, oh, I spoke to Jack earlier. I can come into this, and as long as Jack's sharing this page with me, and it's as simple as you can enter a name, and anyone within your organization will appear on here. You can share it externally, but it's not going to have the collaborative feature, so you can't work on it at the same time. So it's just going to almost be a read copy once you do that. I can also share a version that allows me to edit or view. Sorry, Jack, could you be able to mute your mic for a second, I think?
Of course.
Sorry, everyone, he's sitting opposite me, so I think he was coming through a little bit there. So you can also send a version that's read-only. So if you don't want someone to edit what you've been typing and they just need to read it, you can do that. I can add a message and then I can send it across to him. I'm not going to here because obviously we don't need to. But just to let you know, there is that feature there, so you can sort of collaborate on them. Okay, so I'm just quickly have covered over that. So one of the big features within Microsoft that you're entitled to, and I would highly recommend if you're not using it already, have a go at it. We can show you it. Is called Planner. So you'll see in here, there's so many that it will take me a minute to find it. There it is. So you've got Planner. You can go into here, and what it allows you to do is sort of make workflows, track stuff. So let's say, obviously, everyone's sort of moving to this more hybrid way of working. So I know a lot of charities have actually closed their offices. So I've seen many of the charities I work with have used this really well. And essentially, I'll show you how it works by sort of creating a new plan. So you hit new plan up here. You can sort of create a blank plan. You can go off of sort of their pre-made ones. I'm just going to do a pre-made one for today. So we're going to do fundraising again. I opened one earlier just to sort of show another feature of this. You can add it to existing groups. So let's say we've got our sales group, we've got the whole Qlic team. We can share it to, but I'm not going to do any of that because you can add selected people to this. So you can also make it public or private. Again, I'd only want certain people to be able to access this, change this, and I'd rather have the control myself. So what you can see, I've just created a new group called Fundraising. I'm currently on this, as you can see up here. I'm going to add Jack to it just to show everyone how it works. So I can add Jack. What we can do, we can both work on here. And for example, you've got sections in here. So you might say ideas for the first section. And then I don't need an up next, so let's delete that out. And then we've got an in progress. Move completed over here. And then you might have sort of a back burner. So the way I've seen charities use this really well is, sorry, let me just come to the start. So what you can do, you can track sort of, let's say a member of your team's got an idea, they want to go out and do a bid for funding, or you want to host a sort of charity IT day, an event. You can come into here, you can add a task. So let's say I want to look for funding. So look for funding. Okay, I'm going to add the task. I can then click into this, and then it's going to allow me to assign. So at the moment, where it's just me and Jack on here, I can assign myself or Jack. I'm going to assign myself for this. You can add labels to sort of color code them to staff, but it allows you to really sort of track workflow. So let's say someone's working from home, you want them to do certain tasks on certain days, you can get them to do it through this. You can add notes. The big one is having a checklist on there. So I could call existing contacts. And then it's sort of a checklist. I can do the show on card. So if I untick show on card, all you can see on here is that there's one task within there, or one task on the checklist. I can tick that, then it will actually show me them here. So let's say I'm trying to, I've called all my existing contacts now. I can tick this off. I can see one of one. I can even move to in progress and sort of really track workloads. I'll add a couple just to show a feature that is on there later. So I did too, for example. Going to assign this to myself again. Add a due date, which I'd always recommend doing. If I add one for yesterday, and then let's say my funding is for tomorrow. You can also go into these. You can add any attachments. So let's say you've got a brochure that you want printed out. You need someone to edit something. You can add it on here. You can add from computer, which will allow you to sort of share any files locally. You can also add a URL, which will allow you to copy a SharePoint URL if you're going through SharePoint. But I'm assuming a lot of you will already have this synced down, so you can then just do from computer, and it will simply allow you to share from there. Okay, so I've shown you this. What we can also do is you can tick off completed tasks. You can see it moves to completed here. I prefer to have the whole completed section, just so then you can really look into it there. Okay, so that shows you a bit about Planner. On the second, to sort of go in hand with that, is something called to-dos. So you'll see where Planner is sort of, you can manage your whole team, and it will allow you to sort of give individuals tasks. To-dos can be my personal, so everything that I've been assigned on my Planner, and anything I want to do myself. So from here, you can see I've got my day on here. You've got suggestions, so I can either add a task and say, call Jack to discuss the webinar. Okay, so I can set that to today. I can set it to tomorrow, or I can pick a date. So let's just do it for today. So I'll talk to Jack later, and then we can just do add. So you'll see that on here. I can sort of tick it off. It then goes down into completed. Or let me untick it for now. Let's go to some suggestions, and you can see everything that I'm due to complete from the planner. I can put into my today, and I can see everything that's currently assigned to me. So everything that I just created, I can add that to today. Let's add those in. Oh, sorry, I accidentally completed them off instead. So I can add those in here, and then I can sort of work through my whole day to make sure all of my tasks are complete. So you can also go to sort of planned or assigned to me, and you can see everything that's currently assigned to you. You can sort of dig into them, see where they've come from, because obviously some of them are going to be your personal plans, sort of where you saw me add my own to do in here. You can also see sort of idea one and idea two. You can see where it's come from. You can see it come from the fundraising plan that I created in Planner. So they link really well together. It allows you to track users. It allows users to track their own work, which can be massively beneficial, especially when you're working on 6 different projects at once and you're spinning loads of different plates. You can actually set yourself exactly what you need to do and set reminders. Another part of this is anything that's got a due date of today, yesterday is overdue. It will send you an email reminder, and you can decide how often you want to send this. I created this one earlier just to show what the email reminder looks like, but you can see sort of they come through. I've got a late task, which could be anything. Obviously, I've just named it test 0 and I've put no information on there. You can put as much or as little information as you want. You can then click into it. It's going to take you exactly to where that was. You can then sort of see your checklist, make sure you're up to date with it, and then obviously anything upcoming as well, so you know what you're going to be doing over the next couple of days. Okay, so I just showed those. Okay, I think that would be all of my ones for now. So I'm going to hand over to Jack and sort of let him sort of discuss a bit more about SharePoint and the other features that he's going to talk about. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
So the first one I'm going to talk about is bookings, and we kind of spoke about it a little bit earlier. It's the link Jenny put in the chat, and it's how we create the links and how we can use them to benefit us. Personally, I love them because when you're trying to book meetings, instead of having to go back and forth, are you free this time? No, I'm free this time. This link, they can click on it, they'll view it, that matches my calendar and their calendar, so you can only pick a time that will suit you both, and it basically stops kind of any back and forth and will just save you a lot of time. And it's very easy to use. I'll show you how to create one here. You can kind of create a meeting type, and maybe you want it to be like a catch-up call in the morning, or any time. And you can set your categories to it, and these are linked to my Outlook. So these are the same categories I have for normal meetings when I'm setting them up as well. You could change to basically have a description to describe what the meeting's about. So let's just say maybe it's just a little time to catch up with your colleagues. So just a Monday morning catch up. And then basically anyone who clicks the link can kind of see the description, obviously the title. You can set a location, so you can have it, keep it in person. So say you want to have it in the office, or you can have it over Teams. And then obviously you can select the duration as well. The bit that I like the most is obviously the scheduling, because like I said, it will pick a time that suits everyone, or they can only book a time that will suit them. So you can have it public, which a lot of our links are public, or you can have it private, so only the people with the link can use it. If you go into the advanced options, you can set a time, so you don't have to use your exact calendar hours. You can set, say you want this every Monday, so you can set this for just 30 minutes. And also you can choose how long people have to book a meeting with you. So you could set it up to 90 days here. Essentially means from when the link's sent, they have 90 days to book within that time, and after an hour, because we usually set ours as like 2 days. We don't want people booking with us just within the first half an hour of us sending the link. But I think it's really handy just to make keeping your meetings kind of in check, and there's no overrunning. So I think it really, well, definitely makes life a lot easier for me. We save that, so you can see it's now here. And you can share it very easily with the share button. But there's one bit I like to use as well, is the which one was it? Oh, sorry, my bad. You can set a single use link. So that means, say you send it externally, they can only use the link once, and they can't just book loads of meetings in with you, so your whole calendar's booked out for the rest of the year. So I think it's very well made, and I think it really does benefit me. I'm sure Bradshaw would say the same as well. And it's really easy to set up, and we use them internally as well. So not just externally. We like to do it. Say I have a lot of technical queries, I can book time in with some of our senior engineers, just half an hour where it'll book time with them, that basically where they're not busy and I'm not busy, so I can ask them any questions I might have. And I just find that it's not just beneficial to our clients and charities who are trying to book meetings with me. It's beneficial for me trying to book meetings with people in my team and other people as well. There's much more to it, but the main thing is this will link with your Outlook calendar. So anyone can use the link, book it in, and then it will come straight to my Microsoft Outlook, and then I can get reminders for the meeting as well. Anyone that books in as well can also receive reminders. So say they book one in for 3 weeks time, they'll get reminders to make sure they don't miss it, because sometimes 3 weeks you will forget stuff. I do, but it will remind you via email and Teams as well. The next bit I wanted to cover was forms. Some of you may use forms, some of you may not. I find it's really, really useful. A lot of us use it when we're planning maybe like work events. So there's 4 types of forms, as you can see here. We'll start with the feedback one. And they have lots of templates that you can start with. And I always recommend using a template. So if we just use the employee satisfaction one, it will basically give you a bunch of pre-made questions, but they're really, really, really easy to edit. You can just click in, you can add other options down here. You can allow people to do multiple answers, and you can set required answers as well. You could also come down to the bottom. You can add more questions down here. You can choose the type of question you want to ask, and it really simplifies it, so you don't have to spend ages designing it. You could just do it yourself, do a choice one. You've got 2 options. I'm not going to add one here, but it also makes it really easy. Say you want this question further up, you can just move them in between the numbers as well. The bit I like though is once you've sent it, so you can obviously send it this way. You can use links. You can record the name. The bit I like the most is obviously the preview bit. If you've got a lot of volunteers and you need to send them an email, a lot of volunteers may only be using their email on their phone because they may not have a company device. You can make sure that it looks okay on the phone first when you preview it, and then you can click start, obviously, and it will go through the questions, and you know that it's going to be easy to use for all users, not just the ones who are on laptops or computers. The other section as well is obviously once you get responses. So I did one earlier where I sent it to Bradshaw so he could send me some responses. I can now go through all the responses. You can kind of see like charts of the distribution of responses, but then you can also go into very specific detail where you can see exactly what they responded to each question. So that's mainly the feedback ones. The registration one's also good, and quiz ones as well. Go through the registration one quickly. So say you need to run a coffee morning, or you've got an event set up. They've got lots of templates in place, which you can edit nice and easily as well. Really useful, I find. We use it a lot internally for our own events. And so I'd definitely take a look if you're trying to plan coffee mornings, or if you want to plan maybe bigger events like community action events. That'd be very, very handy. I'm trying to think. Lastly, I think the last bit I've got is SharePoint, unless you can think of anything else, Bradshaw.
I think it might be useful just to show. Obviously, we spoke about the bookings there. It'd be nice to see what the customer sees, the end user. So once you actually send a link, exactly what they're seeing, and I think that would be really handy to show, so then sort of people can see exactly the benefits of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. If I open this one, we'll copy the link here. Quickly. So this is what, I think that's a very good point, actually. This is what you would see. Say you booked a meeting with me, 30-minute catch-up, and you could kind of see the times available today that I have that you could book in for 30 minutes. You can then go down, select any day, see what times I have available. So say I've got a very free day next Thursday, or 2 Thursdays, sorry. And then let's go here. So 9 o'clock. Put your name. You can put any notes, maybe something you'd like to discuss. And say I want to discuss what I did over the weekend if it's a Monday morning. Then we could just put that in there. It may take a few seconds. Lovely. So that's now booked. And I will just check my Teams. So now I'll just bring my Teams over quickly. You can see here that's come up on the 7th of November at the time I booked for my team. So I didn't have to, obviously I booked for myself, so I will cancel that. But it's come straight in. You wouldn't even have to then see, oh, they've said this time, I'm going to have to add it. It just goes straight into your calendar. And that also matches your Outlook calendar, not just your Teams calendar. Very handy in my opinion. So that's what it looks like from the other person's perspective, the person receiving the booking link. And you can also reschedule. Say you're like, oh no, I can't do that date. You could just change it really easily and it will update it again. So it will come off the calendar at the 7th and say I move it to the 12th instead at 10, I can update it and it will just change it for me. Really, really simple, really handy, and it's very efficient. Stops hassle, say back and forth emails trying to book the meeting and back and forth emails trying to reschedule. Just saves you so much time. I believe that is all you can do. You can cancel it if you want or do a new one. The last bit I wanted to go through was SharePoint. As a lot of you probably do use SharePoint yourselves. Very handy online cloud storage as well. So the first thing I'm going to go through is this is what my file explorer looks like. And this is how most people like to access their files. And obviously with cloud storage, as such as SharePoint, some people don't think they can do that, but you can. This here just shows the Qlic business, and then this is my folder in there. And I'll show you what that looks like on the SharePoint online. So here's that same folder. So this is basically where it's all stored and shared, and you can go through the different files, but then you can simply sync it down here. I click sync and it will open my OneDrive, and my OneDrive will sync the new documents or anything folders down into the file explorer, so you can use it just like you're using normal files. Say you had them stored on a server or you had them stored locally, it will look exactly the same, but it's all run through cloud storage. The benefits I find of having SharePoint is it auto saves. So I created a document earlier. It's a really, really simple document, and it's just a Word document, and I shared this with Oliver, and as you can see, his face and his name appears up there. We can both work on the document at the same time and it will still stay updated. So then he's added that, I can see that, and it's constantly saving, auto saving, so you don't lose any work. So you won't have to forget to save. So you close your laptop, it won't disappear. And say maybe someone's made changes, so say there was changes that Oliver made that I didn't want to have, I can go to file, and then you could 1 second, sorry,
I think if you go to info, you can get the version history on there.
There we go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I can go to version history, and this was only created this morning, so they may not have many, but yeah, modified here, I can switch back to this one. So I can get rid of all the stuff that maybe I didn't want him to do and then restore it here. For other documents that you may be working on and updating over years, we have lots of PowerPoint presentations that we have to update with new information as technology constantly is changing. We can go in and say we make a few changes, but then we don't like it, we can restore to old versions. But there'll be a long list of lots of different changes that have been made over the few years. And I just think it really useful, because before, I remember especially my time even at school, when you lost a file, that was it. Couldn't get any previous versions, whereas now we can restore changes. You could do work on the same document at the same time. So say two of you are working on a project, you've got a lot to do, you could both work on it at the same time. And this is obviously, of course, not just for Microsoft Word, this is for PowerPoint, Excel, and all your other Microsoft apps. Not only that, as well, is you can, with SharePoint, you can have different team sections, team document libraries. So I'll go through that here as well. So here we have the department section. And if I go to our projects team, I can't see anything. This is all I can see because I'm not part of the projects team. So I'm not meant to see it, so I can't see it. So you can set people's permissions per document library, so only people in those teams can view the certain files. So you may have a fundraising team, they can use it. The volunteers team, they can access volunteer files, but you don't want them to access maybe your accounts files. You can set permissions for all of them, and again, we as Qlic can set that up for you. We could set up your whole document library, so you could have maybe 4 document libraries with 4 different teams, and set up permission groups where people maybe need access to 2 of them or 1 of them. We can set all that up for you. Other than that, I think it's quite self-explanatory. It's basically just a new way, or it's been around for a little while, but a more efficient way of kind of accessing files and sharing files as a team. Which I think can really help efficiency and productivity, especially like I said, for the working on documents with more than one person working on it at the same time, just having the real-time updating rather than someone having to make changes. Can you look at these changes, see if they're okay? You could just go back and forth. And also, if someone makes changes you don't like, you can then restore back to an older version.
Okay, so I hope everyone got some good information there. I'm going to start on the Q&A now. We'll just start from the start onwards because I did see some questions come in. I saw a question around transferring 20 years worth of folders and files into SharePoint, talking about thousands of files. The truth is, you really need to scope it out properly. I would say Jenny's posted a link in the chat. If you can book in a meeting with me or Jack, we can really scope out exactly your needs. And obviously, you've mentioned 20 years of files. We can sort of look at the data set size and sort of really dig into exactly what the files are. 'Cause truthfully, it's a lot different depending on if it's thousands of photos, Word documents. So we sort of would want to work that out with you and make sure that it's all ready for the move, because if you just sort of drag and drop, you may find that you lose some files. I would say the biggest thing to consider, though, if you don't book in with us, just make sure everything's backed up and you've got a third-party backup in place, because once you've moved the files, if you do lose any, delete any, misplace any, they're going to be gone. So definitely make sure you've got a backup either way. But please book a link in, and we can sort of really discuss with you. I know you're anonymous, so please book in. We've had another question come in asking if this is going to be recorded to share with colleagues. Yes, this has been recorded. It's going to be shared on YouTube, hopefully over the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube, just search Qlic IT. You'll see our past webinars. We run quite a lot. So you'll see them all on there. And then hopefully over the next sort of couple of days, this one will be edited and be put on there as well. Touching base on that, if anyone actually has anything that they want us to cover, please also give us that feedback. We do webinars all the time. We've had Sophos come in, Adobe. We've got another one in November, which I'm sure Jenny's going to reach out to you all about. So we'll host webinars based on sort of what people need and the feedback we get. So any feedback you can give is absolutely amazing for us. Okay, so moving on to the question sort of about the apps we had today. We've got, I'm just going to pull this one. So with Forms, OneNote, etc., can the stored info be kept centrally, or is it always on OneDrive of the person who set it up? So if I created a OneNote, with Forms, it's all owned by the organization. So you can be the admin of that form itself, but you can also, the organization technically owns it. So if that user leaves, someone else can take over the ownership, or you can have multiple administrators. It's exactly the same with a lot of the parts that Jack mentioned as well. So that bookings is, although it's linked to a calendar, you can have other administrators who can go in and edit, and sort of you can add your own calendar to it. So for example, the link that we've sent today, technically my colleague Jenny, who will be in here, has set that up, and me and Jack, you can book in with me and Jack. Although if Jenny does ever leave one day, we would still have access to that. We just need to ask our administrator to go in and change that. OneNote is slightly different. So OneNote is owned by the user's OneDrive. So when you're saving anything on there, every single time you type in a letter or word, it's automatically saving it, updating it. If I share that with Jack, if I share him a version that he can edit, then he can save that locally, and then you both own that sort of file. So if my mailbox gets deleted, he will still have access to that. But OneNote is sort of your personal record, is the same as to-dos. It's all going to be personal, although you can have to-dos based off of a planner. The planner to-dos will still be there if I left. The personal to-dos won't be. So hopefully that answers that question. We've had another one come in about bookings. Did you want to cover that, Jack? It was why would you use bookings instead of Outlook?
The reason I would use bookings personally is because you can set it up with Outlook but the bookings does it automatically with your Outlook and will check your other meetings within Outlook. You can just obviously go to your Outlook calendar, create a meeting and send it over, and same as in Teams, which is also good. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes there is a time that I just know I need that meeting to happen, so we'll get it sorted then. The bookings is more for someone else who doesn't know your calendar, can book time with you without it affecting your other items in your calendar. Just another question here as well.
I think just to build on that as well.
Yeah.
Another way is slightly different is probably the way it's used, because I could easily send someone a meeting invite for next Wednesday, but the back and forth before that of, okay, when are you free? When am I free? What times are you free on that day? Mm-hmm. It cuts out all of that, because you can send a link to, I could send a link to Jack, or to cover another question, can we send it out externally? Yeah, you can send the link to anyone, and anyone can book in with you, whether they have Outlook or whether they don't. So yeah, the way it's different is how you go about using it. You wouldn't have the back and forth anymore of, okay, when are you free? Especially when you find that your calendar gets booked up a lot, if you sit a lot of meetings, it can be quite tedious. And I know a lot of people in here would agree, the more meetings you sit, the harder it is to book in meetings. So just sending someone a link where they can see your calendar directly is a game changer, and it's been massive for us. At least it just saves 6 emails booking in a meeting. It can be, okay, look, I've got some time next Thursday, here's my booking link, book in a time that suits you, and it works off both calendars.
Yeah, perfect. Let's have a look here. See if more questions. Sorry.
Okay, there was one about booking in externally. Again, yeah, yep. Like I mentioned before, you can send that link to anyone. They don't have to have Outlook, although. So let's say you send it to someone who's on Google, and you're trying to send them a Teams meeting. It will still send them the Teams meeting, but it will send it to their email as opposed to putting it directly in their calendar.
Mm-hmm. I just see a question here on, how do you know who can see each document library? That is an admin permission thing. So whoever can set up admin permissions can also check permissions for each user as well. Someone did ask for demonstrate individual permissions. I can't currently show that because I'm not an admin of this SharePoint that I just demonstrated with. But that is something that we can set up. So say you're a customer with us or you're not a customer with us, you can have a consultation, we can talk about it. We will set up the permissions in a way that suits you. And then we would also say you're on support with us, you need any changes made. That would be just an email or a phone call, and that could be made. It'd have to be an email from an authorized user, but that's not a problem. And we can make the changes. So you wouldn't even have to sit there and learn how to do it and learn if it can make any mistakes. All our engineers can do that and make the changes for you.
Okay, I've just seen a question come in around when someone's colleague creates a booking page. Why does the title create a user account in 365 Admin Center and Intune? To be completely truthful, I don't know about that, so I can speak to one of the technical guys and see if we can get a reason sent across to you, because I've not seen that personally, but sort of where in our organization we aren't admin, we don't see that as much. But I'm just going to make a note of your name, and I'll get one of the team to reach out to you after the fact, if that's okay, and just see what's going on and if that should be the case, because it doesn't sound like it should be, but there may be a reason, and we'll see if we can get that for you. Okay.
Just while you're doing that, there's a question: are your documents more vulnerable if they're in the cloud? I personally would say no, because it's technically all stored at a Microsoft data center, which is very, very secure. The main issue is you would want to, if you're accessing SharePoint on your file explorer, like I was, you'd want it to be a company device with like antivirus and encryption if it's a laptop. But if they're using it on the web, there's no issues there. The webs are very safe, especially for volunteers. If they need access, they have to access it on personal devices. They should only access it on the web, and I personally think it's safer. Just also linking to that, another question, someone asking, require no backup. We do think it requires backup, that we do offer a backup via a company called Datto. But from what we've noticed, it's a lot cheaper than, say, you had your files on a server to back them up. We find it's a lot cheaper through Datto to back up the cloud storage. There is also its own retention through Microsoft, but I think it's only 30 days. So that's why we have the 1 year backup through Datto. But yeah, again, it's a lot cheaper than a server backup.
Okay, I saw another question come in around where does the Excel file get stored if data taken on a form. So it stores it directly onto the file that you've created, and then you can pull sort of, if you want to pull an Excel worksheet from there, you can export it to CSV. There is a drop-down option on there. I've got another one. Can you send the link for your colleague's calendar? So I assume this is referring to the bookings. As long as if Jack sends me the link to his booking in time with him, I can then send that to anyone that I want to. Obviously, I'd have to ask Jack first if he was happy for me to. But yeah, you could take someone else's booking link and send it around if that was needed.
Yeah, there is also obviously, like I said, the single-use link. So in case you sent it to someone, you didn't want them to send it to anyone else and only they could use it, you can create a temporary single-use link that can only be used once. But then there's the generic link as well, where anyone can use it and book in as many times as they like.
Yep. There's another question around if we use SharePoint, can all the members share their Outlook calendars? Yes, the two don't go hand in hand. So you're always recommended to use SharePoint, like Jack mentioned. Microsoft recommends you have a third party in place to do the backups for you, because they only have, I think it's 90 days retention.
Oh, it's 90. My bad.
Yeah. But the sort of sharing of Outlook calendars is completely separate to that. You could not have SharePoint and share your calendar still. So you could still do that. I'm just reading through a bit of a longer question here.
Just quickly, while he's thinking out of it, the question: do you always sync docs before working on them individually? So once you've synced your documents from the SharePoint, they will automatically sync to be the most up-to-date version in your File Explorer. Your OneDrive will constantly, if you click on the little cloud, it will show constant changes that are happening and being processed. Sometimes, very rarely, it will stop syncing, but that could be fixed by one of our team. And it's usually maybe you've had a document open for too long and someone's made too many changes. Lots of things can happen to it, but it very, very rarely will stop syncing. And if it does, it's a 10-minute call to say someone on our team who can fix that for you. But again, like I said, it's a very, very rare time, but it should sync all the time automatically.
Okay, so I had one of the questions was around sort of some top tips of what to avoid for the micro organization. So this wouldn't potentially be your job, but obviously we understand a lot of the time you do have to wear other hats, don't you, within the sector. So luckily with Microsoft, it's almost become drag and drop. So you can make all of these apps what you want. So let's say you want to get something from them, you can do that. I would say top tips to avoid are, it's a really difficult question, to be completely honest with you. I think where it's sort of so easy to set up a lot of this, and you can watch videos on how to do it. If there's something sort of specifically that you want us to do a YouTube video on, just saying, look, this is exactly how you set it up. Because it's what we've done in the past. We've done it for SharePoint, and you do find that a lot of the time we'll put out a webinar and say, look, this is how you set up SharePoint. These are things to look out for. And one of my colleagues, Chris, did an amazing webinar. I think it was about 6 months ago. That's on YouTube, where you can watch stuff like that. I would say any tips to avoid is, to be honest, I couldn't really think of any. I don't know if you can, Jack, for any of today.
Just going back on it, I do get your point. Obviously, some of your users may find it harder to use some of this stuff. But like we've said and shown, a lot of it is very template based and very easy to change. Microsoft does guide you through it. There is when you set up a bookings, it's not on my page anymore because I set it up a while ago, but it has like a get started, 3 tips, and it would explain how to maybe create a meeting, send it to someone, and 3 tips. It will literally have a checklist to help you go through them. Microsoft really does help you with it, especially with the forms. The templates I think are absolutely brilliant, and the ease of access and how to change it and edit it and view it is really, really easy to use. I understand that some people aren't very technical at all, and it may be harder for them. But for example, with SharePoint, not everyone needs to know how to create permissions. Not really anyone at all. Maybe one person, and then the rest just need to know how to use it and access the files. So the difficult bits, there are obviously people who do need to know that stuff, but a lot of that's where we will come in, especially for like creating permissions and document libraries.
Okay, so we've had a bit of a longer question come in around an organisation that prepares budget models that contain confidential information and that they password protect it. I'm not going to read out the whole question because it is quite a long one, but I would say where it's quite a niche thing, if you could book in a meeting with myself or Jack, we'd definitely be able to sort of help you out or point you in the right direction. And like I say, the meeting link is completely free. You don't need to pay for any advice we give you. We want to sort of give out as much information to the sector as possible. But yeah, it's quite a specific question, so I'd really like to sort of dig deeper into that one-on-one, if that's okay, and we can sort of have a back and forth and discuss the needs a bit more. Okay. We've had another question around Teams meetings. Is there an easy way to pull all of the Teams to-do lists in one place? Yes, within Teams, you'll notice on the left-hand side of Teams, there's like a plus icon, and you can add in a lot of these apps. So you can add in sort of to-dos, and then you can click into there. And as long as you've got access to someone else's to-dos, for example, you can do exactly that. I know our onboarding engineer, he has a to-do that the director, the account managers can all see, and sort of you can sort of see where he's at with those tasks, so to sort of keep us in the loop. But yeah, it's a plugin that you can use on Teams, and it's really easy to do. And I'm happy to send you across some more information on how to do that.
Just quickly, there's a question there that was asking, can that work with Excel documents too? Is there one comment? Oh yeah, Jenny's answered it. Sorry, my bad. Any other questions on here?
Sorry, Jack, did you cover the individual permissions within a SharePoint library?
Yes. Yeah. So
we just to add to that, I remember Jack talking about SharePoint, so sorry about that. Yeah, just to add to that one for you, the webinar I mentioned where Chris was talking about sort of SharePoint and doing all of the setup, if Jack didn't mention, that's available on our YouTube as well. So you can go to our YouTube and search for SharePoint and it will come up.
Yeah, that one's very good for showing stuff like the permissions level, the more harder the admin side of stuff. Today because I don't have access to our admin side, obviously, it's showing kind of like the user side of how to access it. Okay. Any questions we've missed?
Just looking through to see if there is any. I can't see any that we've missed. I'll just check if there's any waiting to come in, because we've got a review button here. I can't see any. Obviously, I know that a lot of the time you're going to sort of think of some questions after the fact, and we fully appreciate that. So if there is any, let us know. If you want to sort of book in some time with us, or there's a webinar you want us to run, again, just reach out. Jenny's put the link in the chat, so you can send it there as well. Okay.
Oh, 1 second. I think this is one more question coming. The access databases. Sorry. We have access database. Is access database available on 365? I believe so. It may depend on the license. Let's see. It's all apps for you.
Well, while you're looking into that, we did have another someone mentioned in the chat. Would we be able to run a webinar on Teams? 100%. It would be something we'd love to do. I'll speak to Jenny, and we can see if we can get something in the calendar over the next couple of months, and we can sort of dig into Teams and sort of really how you can link your SharePoint and make the most out of that. But that will be sort of a bit of more of a technical one. So we can definitely get that, and we'll sort of advertise it to everyone. Anyone that joined today, will reach out and just let you know when we're hosting webinars. But that's definitely a good one to do. And I don't think we've done it before. If we have, I'll send it to you after the fact. But yeah, it would definitely be something that we could touch on again if not.
Just back on the Access one. Access is available on Microsoft Business Standard and Business Premium, but not Microsoft Business Basics. And obviously, all these apps today are available on Standard and Premium as well. And as a charity, we said earlier, you get 10 free Business Premiums. Again, if you need help to try and get that in your Microsoft tenant, because it really can save you some money. And also, if you use more than 10, you can still get charity discount. It goes down from, I believe, £21 to about £5.50 a month. But yes, Access is on 365.
Okay. I think what we'll do, we'll wrap things up there. I can't see any more questions that have come in. Just to let you all know, we've got another webinar on the 7th of November, which is going to be around digital marketing, and we've got someone from Vixen Design joining us on that. There's also another one in December on AI, just to let you know sort of what's coming up, and we'll reach out to everyone and sort of send you the link so you can join those. But thank you everyone for joining, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your days.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.